anyone have questions relative to the proposal that has been reviewed by Mr. Steinsnyder, outside counsel, obviously Ms. Baker, myself?
Did you ask if there's questions about it?
Excuse me?
What did you ask us now?
Oh,
We can't
do you
hear
have any
you.
questions?
Yes.
Relative to the contract?
If I may, to be clear and transparent, the outside counsel looked at the contract when it was proposed for Mr. Gonzalez. I did not have outside counsel look at it again with some of the modifications that were made for Ms. Baker, but the issues which outside counsel commented on were incorporated into this contract.
Thank you. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. On Section 3, compensation, A2, it shows that Ms. Baker would get a $10,000 one-time pay adjustment on her anniversary date after receiving an above-average review. I don't think that's necessary. I mean, if she gets a review, she gets a raise just like everybody else. I mean, was this in Mr. Gallagher's contract? And
The reason that I suggested that to Ms. Baker was because, as you all recall, Ms. Baker was the interim county administrator, and then as we pointed out, Mr. Parikh left, and then obviously she didn't have a chief assistant, so she was carrying a number of hats. So we raised her pay to compensate for that. If you look at county administrators across the state with populations in excess of $300,000, quite frankly, she's entitled to more than $180,000. I think it's pretty generous on Ms. Baker to accept the current salary of $170,000. She's always said, give me the opportunity to prove myself. If I prove myself and I prove myself effectively, I believe I need to be compensated for that. That is over and above the 3% that we would normally give other employees. So I think it is more than fair. It gives her an opportunity to demonstrate that she's capable of doing the job. If she doesn't get a majority of the commissioners to affirm that, then she's not entitled to it. But it just demonstrates it's on her back to prove to us that she's capable of doing the job, and if she does, then she's going to be rewarded because of that.
I think that could be done at the next contract negotiation at the end of the contract on that one. So I cannot support that one.
Okay.
Next page, the automobile. I know this is common practice for county administrators, but we have a fleet of vehicles that could be used that are at any of our disposals. So the $450 per month is something that's given out right along with the rest of her pay, whether it's used or not. There's no receipts or anything given back saying, yes, this is how much I used, this is the mileage I used. So I have a question about that as well.
It was much simpler, and if you look at other administrators throughout the state, most of them have adopted this because they don't want to have to continue to keep receipts and generate those documentations. So it's easier, instead of providing Ms. Baker with a vehicle, the tax collector, I'm not sure about tax, I know the property appraiser has a county vehicle, the clerk of the court has a county vehicle, supervisor of elections has a county vehicle. She would not have a county vehicle. She would have her own personal vehicle.
She has a county vehicle at her disposal, just like we did, that sits outside in the parking lot.
Well, you can interpret however you want, but I think that if the constitutional officers, they have vehicles in their fleets that they can assign to themselves as well.
Agreed.
But I think that it's worthy.
Yeah, when Mr. Gallagher didn't have this for quite a while, and when we did offer, I voted no. Only because I think that we travel a lot, too, in our jobs. We run around the place. I mean, basically, I think it's the same thing for gas. Is that what it is, right?
Well, she will have her own personal vehicle to travel around the county.
Yeah,
Okay? So she's not checking out a vehicle every day.
Yeah.
And we're not providing her with her own personal vehicle. We simply just pay her $450 a month for gas and maintenance and insurance on her own personal vehicle.
Whether she uses it or not.
Correct.
So we're going to pay her $450 a month, whether she uses it or not.
Right. Well, yeah, what I'm just saying is, I think that's part of your job, to use your, I mean, we all use our vehicles. We drive all around this county.
And we can write it off on taxes.
What?
And you can write it off at the end of the year on
That's because
taxes.
you're good and you keep records, I don't.
And there are counties where I'm not saying that we want that here, but that the commissioners get a gas allowance for that same purpose and a vehicle allowance.
Okay, so we're getting a little bit off point, so.
Okay,
No,
so
we're
next
talking
question.
about the gas
next question is on Section 4, benefits, B, of the health care and workers' compensation insurance. The paragraph, the county shall continue to provide health care group coverage for the administrator at the board's expense until the administrator reaches Medicare age should she retire from the position, consistent with the policy of other regular full-time employees of the board who have completed 30 years of service. The insurance committee is currently looking at some changes in people that are still on the county insurance after they've retired or after they've left the employment. And I'm understanding that this is the same as that, and if the county does, if the insurance committee does away with that benefit, then we will still have to pay Michelle the same, even though we've done away with it for all the other county employees. So the insurance committee is doing away with the process of paying for your insurance, is looking at doing away with paying for your health care insurance after you retire or after you leave the county after 30 years of service. But yet that's in here for her. So I have a little bit of a problem with that.
Okay, I think it's fair.
Okay, well, you're only one person, so.
So unless Mr. Steinsnyder would like to respond, I mean,
I don't understand that. It sounds
I think the way that this clause is written, it would survive a change in policy because it is talking about the policy that is currently in place by the Board of County Commissioners. So once that's awarded, unless the language was changed, unless that's awarded, unless that is this language is changed, when it's awarded in the contract, it would continue to be a benefit, even if the policy changed for the rest of the rank and file employees.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Ariano.
so in 2 years' time, when the contract comes up, if we did a change to the health insurance, we could actually make the change
Good.
then, too?
You could.
You could at that point, yeah.
Yeah.
But again, this contract is it is a term of 2 years with automatic renewal. So you would have to give 60 days notice that you want to modify the contract.
Not a problem.
And on Section 6, performance appraisal, line 2, second sentence, it says the board may review and appraise the job performance of the administrator annually. I think that needs to be the board will review, because I think we need to give her an annual review. We all get annual reviews. Everybody should have an annual review, and I would like to see that word change from may to will. So that way the
Tell
board
me in
makes...
which,
Second line,
yeah, but which section?
Section 6, performance
Oh,
appraisal,
section.
line 2, second sentence. It says the board may review and appraise the job performance of administrator annually.
That's discretionary on the board, not the administrator.
Right, but I would like to make it to where we need to make sure that we do it every year. I mean, saying we may do it says we may do it. But if it says the board will review, then we need to put it in our process and on our list and say we have to do this. Because
All you have to do is fill them out.
And because, with all due respect, in 3 years, I've never gotten one from Mr. Gallagher
That-
because it was never done.
Yes, that's true.
Because the language was in there that we may review it. And when you've got one person on the board that says, I want to look at it, it's not going to get very far. Where if you say, we will do this, then we will do it.
Years ago, when I first became a commissioner, then I went to, the Florida Association of Counties, became a certified commissioner. Said to Gallagher, why don't we evaluate you? He goes, you evaluate me every 2 weeks. So we did an evaluation. And when I was chair, I synthesized it, blah, 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 blah. Anybody read it, and the next time it was never done again. I do think, though, that we should evaluate. That evaluate doesn't mean negative. It means like, hey, you're doing a great job. We were evaluated when we taught in the college as professors every single year. Not only did our administrator, who was above us, but our students. And it made you feel good when you got a good one, which mostly you did, but sometimes you got flopped a little bit, but that's okay. So I would like that changed also.
Mr. Chairman?
Well, we're going to go ahead and change that then to will.
Mr. Chairman?
Commissioner Mariano?
And just for other organizations that do it, with the Tampa Bay Regional Planning Council, we do it every single year. Everyone fills it out. T. Barta does the same thing. I think it's a good thing to do, and I think it's a good time to sit down and communicate at that point in time. We can kind of look at the things we liked for the year, the things we didn't.
Two-way.
And that will help her, I think, become better anyway, and I think she'd be receptive to it.
Well, there are some members of the Tampa Bay Water Board that won't do them. They refuse to do them.
Why?
I don't know why. I'm just saying that they refuse to do them, and whether they do it one-on-one with the executive director, or they just choose not to do it. There's some that say, I'm not doing it.
Those are all the questions I have on the contract. Thank you.
I was wondering on that health one, the way it's written, Mr. Steinschneider, it doesn't say if the person gets employment anywhere else, it stops. So it's just like, I don't think that's very well written. What is?
You're talking about section B, or paragraph B under section 4?
I have to
Yes.
find it.
Yes.
It says, should she retire from the position consistent with the policy after having completed 30 years of service? That's, she couldn't resign from the position with less than 30 years service, and it's
So, Michelle, how
section
many do you have now?
4B.
20?
Here,
I have 30 years in the FRS
Right.
and 20 years in Pasco County
20 years.
government,
So
so
she's got to get 10 more years.
It doesn't say.
No.
30 years, no, she could retire tomorrow and have health benefits until she's full health. It doesn't say that. It's not, to me, it's not clear. And actually, we were trying to move away from that on the school district because it's
yeah.
really an expensive,
yeah,
unfunded
right.
mandate. It's very
So
expensive.
she could retire and we keep paying her health benefits?
Yes.
Until she
Until she
reaches
reaches
Medicare
65.
age. Medicare age, yes.
I don't know. I mean, that's,
I don't.
So that's 30 years of service in FRS?
30 years of service.
What about county
can we
service?
do that now?
And this isn't to you specifically, Michelle. This
Yeah,
is
but don't we do that
just
now
for
with the
anybody.
firefighters?
for anybody.
The current policy, which
Yeah.
this board approved in 2005, is
Right.
30 years of service with Pasco County
Right.
or any of its constitutionals.
Right.
This provision is 30 years of service from the Florida retirement system.
And it doesn't even say
doesn't say that.
Florida retires, it just says 30 years of service. So,
My impression was it was county service.
That was my understanding, too.
it does say consistent with the policy for other county employees.
Is that just for county service, or is that for FRS service?
The county's
policy.
policy is for county service.
Right. So that was the understanding. So you have
Yes,
10 more years before you're
Yes,
really
sir.
eligible.
Yes.
So
and you're going to be, how old will you be? I know she's younger than me. Kind of
she will be
figured
close. She will be close, but it'll be a couple, 3 years.
that. I don't know, I think that that's something that we as responsible elected officials are moving away from.
Right.
In general, and so I guess I'm with Henry. I'm not comfortable with that.
So what's the problem with it? What is the real problem?
Does that happen in the private sector or only in the public sector?
Well, I don't know what happens in the
Right,
private sector,
okay.
but
I don't think that happens in the private sector. And I
When-
think we
when
just
we-
need to be a little more
when we ask,
responsible.
when we ask some employees to voluntarily retire early, we offered that to them as a benefit.
Well, that's different. That's an enticement.
I just think the county administrator's position is clearly different than all the other employees. I mean, she's on call 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
So she's not getting anything more than other employees get.
But Henry,
Unless,
they're moving away.
unless the insurance committee decides to do away with that process, and then,
And when they do, well,
You can
then,
bring that back.
So here
Okay,
again,
we
you
could
can
do
bring
it
it
like
back in
that.
2 years. You can review it in 2 years.
We really should, at this point, in fairness, we shouldn't give her something we're not offering to our regular employees.
And we're not.
So until you change that, maybe we need to let it stand.
I
That
think
would
let
be-
it stand,
Mr.
because
Chairman?
we're offering it to them now.
Mr. Chairman, actually, Mr. County Attorney as well. So if we put in the 30 years of service with Pasco County, does that pretty much take care of that situation?
Yes.
Yeah.
That clarifies it.
So let's add those words,
Okay.
please.
Or you can put in there also that if the county decides to do away with this process of retirement, then
Well, but if
Then
we
that should be
change
done
the
as well.
policy, then it'll be consistent with the policy.
no, because,
Whatever we do for the other, everyone's going to be the same.
right. But I asked Mr. Steinhardt this question yesterday, and he goes, if the county does do away with that, as far as insurance, then,
If it's consistent with Section 2.B.1, paragraph A.
Well, that's the termination
Right,
for
but
cause.
you read it if you done something bad.
If you terminate the administrator for cause, the,
Okay.
she can't retire, basically. If for some reason you voted to terminate her not for cause, and she chose to retire rather than being terminated not for cause, she could retire the way this section is written.
But wouldn't she have to be, would it have to be after 30 years?
The way it's been modified now, it would have to be after 30 years of service with Pasco County.
Yeah.
Now, if the board wishes to reflect that if they change that policy for everyone, we can revise that to say that.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Mariano.
the line before where it says, should she retire from the position consistent with the policy for other regular full-time employees of the board, does that do it?
See, that's what I was thinking too, Jack. It's you're consistent with the policy.
So when our policy changes,
And when the policy changes, then you
right,
can revisit
yeah,
it.
it would straighten out. I wouldn't worry about it right now. I think we're okay.
I do too.
I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I think.
If that's
What
the
other-
board's interpretation of its contract, that,
The boys in, yeah, like we're all attorneys up here.
no,
It
I mean,
says, it says
it-
from the position consistent with the policy for other regular full-time employees.
Yeah, I think that's
Right.
right. And when we
It's-
change this
it's-
policy,
Yeah.
she'll be changed.
Next,
Not, she won't be changed, though.
anything else?
Sir?
does anybody else have any issues with the Section 3 compensation, A2, about the $10,000 pay adjustment after the first year?
No, I'm okay with
Well, I do have a question on what, on a review, what constitutes a review, and now, I talked to Mr. Steinhardt about this yesterday a little bit. To me, I would like metrics. I would like, a permit and an hour and a half like Polk County, and, I mean, how do you measure success? If we need to define what success is.
You have the opportunity, you haven't seen the evaluation sheet.
No.
But, we can either develop the evaluation sheet to reflect that a little more in detail, but the majority of this board would have to give her
Above average.
above average in order to receive the $10,000 bonus. So the evaluation is how that would be determined.
If I may comment here, sir. So I would love to have the opportunity to lead from the front for our organization and develop in advance the evaluation form and the performance measures by which you will evaluate me. This is the system we are transitioning to for all of our county employees, where they have objective measures with specific performance measures instead of subjective reviews. So if it is the board's pleasure, it would be my honor to put together an evaluation form for the county administrator and specific measurable goals that you will evaluate me against in a year from now.
Yeah, I think it's good to, I'd like to get away from the subjective.
Me too.
And I don't know why we would put a dollar amount. Why would we, perhaps we think she might have earned more. So Why, I don't understand the need to put any kind of number there.
Because money motivates.
So then why are you limiting it to 1 year? I don't understand the one-time thing, so.
Well, you're going to reevaluate her proposal in 2 years, so you certainly could do the same thing in 2 years if the board chooses to do it. This is just the first year.
I think
As I
stay
explained
with-
before, based on counties with population in excess of 300,000, quite frankly, the average is about 190,000, so she's effectively still underpaid,
Yeah.
even at 180.
To me, it's just kind of tying our hands ahead of time, so it just makes me a little uncomfortable.
How is it tying your hands if she has
You
to
already
meet,
picked a number.
but she has to
But she has
meet the evaluation?
criteria, and if we don't want to do it, we won't do it. If we want to raise the amount, then we probably could. I don't know. I'm happy with that.
I would rather not have it, but I know where Jack is. You two are.
I don't know what else you would do.
I'm comfortable with it, and I'll tell you why. Mr. Gallagher was making 179, she's going to be at 180, so
That'd be good.
we're in line.
To answer your question, Mr. Chairman, what you do is you renegotiate it when the contract comes back up.
In 2 years?
Yes. That's why it's called a contract, that's why it's called negotiations. If you do a great job for 2 years, then you negotiate a higher rate.
Yeah, I think keep it in.
What?
Keep in the 10,000.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't like the 450, I have to tell you that.
So
And
you were good with the 10, so we're, I think so. We're on the losing end.
Okay, so I need a motion then.
Well, did we determine the car allowance?
Well,
where we are
there's
at?
two of us said we don't want it, but I don't think we're going to. I just think that that's part of your job. I mean, we all run around, we all,
Mr. Chairman, and as well as the convenience for the administrator, if she's going to be going to one event, and she may want to go somewhere else, going back and forth to bring a car back and forth is a bit of a hassle, too.
Yeah.
There's enough demand, and I think Michelle's going to be the one who's going to be out there presenting and representing the county many, many times, that if we just take care of that basic expense and free up her time and free up our staff time trying to monitor it all, it's well in line with other counties, what they're doing. And not that I want to follow other counties, but I think we're below what other counties do for their administrators as well.
Yeah, I'm going to be okay with that, car allowance. And you know that I absolutely love C.
love one.
And I want Michelle to go to her meetings and network with other county administrators and get out there and, bring great ideas.
Move approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the contract for Michelle Baker with a few small modifications that Mr. Steinsnyder has duly noted.
With two changes, as I have, the change to benefits, Section 4 benefits, B, healthcare and workers' compensation insurance, to add 30 years of service with Pasco County, and in Section 6, performance appraisal, the board will review and appraise job performance. I believe those are the only two that had majorities.
Correct. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries 4-1. Please remove the interim, and Ms. Baker, congratulations.
Thank you.
So we will now go to item R3, minutes, financial matter specific approvals.